Hey, what is up, guys? I've got some really good stuff to share with you today. As you can see, I've got this chart here, and this is the one thing that we need to kind of round off what we've been talking about for the last few days, is how these 9 different chord types function in functional harmony, because this is how you're going to see these chords placed in tunes that you're going to be playing through. Now, if you don't have my book, Functional Harmonic Concepts, then you've got to get that book, because that book is a super in-depth, years worth of study book that will really teach you everything you need to know about functional harmony. But what I've done here is I've taken really the first 2 layers of functional harmony, which would be the 2-5-1s in the major key and the minor key, and then the diatonic substitutes for the 2, 5, and the 1. Notice that 2-5-1 is really organized under the headings of subdominant, then moving, look at the directional arrows, moving to dominant, that's the 5, then moving to the tonic. Note that the substitutions here for the subdominant is the 4 major 7, and then that moves here, and the substitution for the dominants is going to be this 7 minor 7 flat 5. This, however, is not really that common of a substitution. You don't really see a 7 minor 7 flat 5 chord functioning harmonically, but melodically we use that all the time. Notice the sus chord is in here as well, because the sus, you can hear that in a tune functioning as a resolution to the 5. There's a lot of tunes where you hear the sus being played, and then it goes from the sus then to the dominant chord with the same root note. Like you might have like G7 sus to G7, G7 sus to G7, then it might resolve to C major. And that's where you have that suspension, which is the 4th, resolving to the 3rd. But it's also its own entity, and you often see it in a tune, and you have to understand what to play over it, and basically you're substituting the 4th for the 3rd. Okay, so then if you then go to the tonic, you can see that we have the 1 major 7, and the substitutes is 3 minor 7 and 6 minor 7. Now, in this video, I'm not going to get into the whys and all the theory behind why this works. If you really want to get that together, then you've got to either sign up for my 2-year bass mastery course, where I do a whole course on harmony, or buy my book, Functional Harmonic Concepts, and start going through that, and that will explain everything. So when we go down to this minor key harmony, what we basically have here is the same thing, but in the minor. This is harder to understand because the minor keys are based on 3 different scales, and the major harmony is based on 1 scale. Okay, so we have again subdominant moving to the dominant, moving to the tonic, and this is the basic harmonic direction that we have in Western music. That's the most common. That spells out the most definitive chord progression that outlines the key. So when those chords are being played, the key is heard most prominently. So notice how here we've got the 2 minor 7 flat 5. That's our 2 chord in the minor key, then going to the 5-7 flat 9, or any altered dominant, and the 5-7 sharp 5 is an altered dominant chord. So that's where that would really fit in nicely. And then resolving to the 1 minor major. This 1 minor major is really often seen in a tune as just a minor triad. But as I explained in the last lesson that we had, the way to extend that triad is by using the natural 7, not the flat 7. Okay, you can have a minor 7 as a tonic in a minor key, but it's not that common. In pop music, yes, but not in jazz. So then we have here the substitutions for the 1 minor major 7 being flat 3 major 7 sharp 5. So there's our major 7 sharp 5 chord, and then the 6 minor 7 flat 5. Okay, and then we have over here the 4 minor 7 and the flat 6 major 7. So this kind of ties in all where you're actually going to most commonly see these 9 different chord types. And it's a lot of tunes that you see, like if you look at a jazz standard, a turnaround that you see a lot in many jazz tunes would be like going from 1 major 7 to 6 minor 7, and then to 2 minor 7 to 5 7. Okay, when you look at that, the 1 major 7 to the 6 minor 7, that's just a variation of 1. So that's just like hearing 1 and then the 2 and the 5, but it gives it harmonic variation, okay? And then often you would hear that expanded upon by going 1 major 7 to 6 minor 7 to 2 minor 7 to 5, and instead of resolving to the 1, it goes 3, because again 3 has that tonic, but it's a way of expanding the harmonic thing. So it's like, it doesn't, it's a bit of a deceptive resolution in that sense. It resolves, it's a bit deceptive, and then it cycles back around and it adds harmonic variation to the actual tune. And when you start to see how these things develop, when we start adding like the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th layer of harmony, which is all covered in my Functional Harmonic Concepts book, you really see how a lot of tunes are written and composed. And this is the sort of first stop when we're in learning how to play, because we have to know how to interpret a chord progression. So, for instance, in pop, you have the very common pop progression is going to be 1 major going to the 5 7, then going to the 6 minor, and then going to the 4. And a lot of times those are going to be more triads. The dominant chord, like you'd have 1 major, would just be a C triad going to a G7, and then an A minor triad going to the F major triad. And probably most every pop tune written in the last, 5 or 10 years has had that progression in some incarnation in the tune. So, but look at what that is. That's just tonic going to dominant, then back to tonic, and then to subdominant. So it's always going to be going through these various stages. And these are how you're going to see how these chords are functioning. So I wanted to get this off to you because this is kind of, in one little area, you've got the first 2 layers of this harmony, and you can see clearly where all these chords are functioning. And this is essential to understand. Can't just understand chord tones and expect to be able to apply it. You have to understand how they function, and this is where this whole thing fits into a nice little package. So anyway, guys, I'm going to leave you with this. Hope you've enjoyed these little sets of bonuses. I'm going to hit you up again tomorrow with something, and then get ready for the launch of the book, because the book is going to be ready for release on Tuesday. So I'm going to send you a special link to where you can get this book at a really good deal, and I'm going to talk about that tomorrow. So until next time, practice smart, work hard, and play creatively.